Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. You can follow me there. And today it is time for the 49ers Week 11 preview show. Your San Francisco 49ers go on the road to take on the Arizona Cardinals in a rematch this week. And I think that this is a must-win game for the 49ers on their playoff hunt. We're going to go over this week's game day checklist and talk about exactly what the plan of attack should be on Sunday. And of course, stick around until later in the show because we've got another edition of our 3 key matchups segment. Of course, before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below. I really appreciate the support you guys have been giving. We're getting super close to the 500 subscribers mark. So if you are not subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Trying to get to that mark by the end of November. That would be fantastic. If you're not subscribed, please consider it. Of course, leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into the video. So first up on the game day checklist, I do think the 49ers need to score 30 to win games going forward. Now, do I think that they could win a game 28-21? Sure, right? But I think the most likely option is that if the 49ers score 30, they will win the game. Kyle Shanahan is 45-5 when scoring 30 points since he became the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. And that's one of the 10 best records in the league. I think it's 6th, according to my count. Offense is going to have to carry the team, right? The defense does not look good. In fact, they look very bad. And they'll be playing a worse Cardinals offense than that juggernaut Rams unit that we saw last week. But still, I think the offense is going to be the unit that needs to carry the team. You have to be able to outscore this beat-up Cardinals unit. They've got no Marvin Harrison Jr., no Kyler Murray, no James Conner, no Trey Benson. You've got to be able to outscore that team. The team can't score 30, right? I don't think that Cardinals team can score 30, period, even against our defense. So, like I said, if you score 30, you probably win this game. Next up, key in on Trey McBride. Trey McBride, one of the best tight ends in the NFL, and he is the source of this Cardinals offense. Even in a disaster game against the Seahawks, Trey McBride went off, had the touchdown. He's awesome. And I think if the Cardinals are going to get any sort of rhythm on offense, it's going to come from Trey McBride. So you have to contain Trey McBride. Now, unfortunately, that's going to be pretty tricky because he'll be matching up against some of the weaker cover players on our team, the linebackers and the safeties. But again, you've got to double him, do whatever you need to do. Can't let Trey McBride score. You've got to be able to contain him because if you can do that, if you can keep Trey McBride under like 50 yards, then you're probably going to end up winning this game. And then I've got a goal for the special teams as well. Dominate. Dominate special teams. That is my goal. Cardinals are a bottom half unit in the NFL. 49ers are top 10 in the NFL. Former 49er punter Pat O'Donnell is the new Cardinals punter. O'Donnell was a 49er last year when Mitch Wishnowsky was hurt. Now Thomas Morstead steps in as 49ers punter. I would love to see a return touchdown off of Pat O'Donnell or maybe on a kickoff thanks to Brian Robinson Jr. I would love to see that. I think that would be fantastic. Maybe forcing a fumble on a Cardinals returner. Something cool like that. A big game-changing special teams play would go a long way in a game like this. And I do think that since the 49ers special teams unit is just flat out better than the Cardinals, they could make a play like that, right? This is one of the clearest examples of a distinct advantage that the Niners have over the Cardinals. And I'd like to see them take advantage of that advantage. Pardon my repetition of the words there. Now, that is my game day checklist, all right? You've got to score 30 on offense, you've got to contain McBride on defense, and you've got to dominate special teams. It sounds pretty simple, and that's because it is. The Cardinals are a worse team than the 49ers, so for the 49ers to win, they've just got to play their style of ball, right? On every phase of the game, they've got to play their style of ball. They've got to execute all the, coach speak kind of words that you usually hear. The 49ers have to do that sort of stuff. They've got to make the plays that they usually make, and they should win this game. The unexpected outcome of this game is the 49ers losing, right? This is not the Rams game. The 49ers are not trying to pull some upset. 49ers are favored in this game, I believe, and they absolutely should take care of business. Now, which players in particular are going to be taking care of business? Let's take a look at our three key matchups in this game. And it's going to start with the Prince, who is returning, Ricky Pearsall versus Max Melton. That's my top matchup of the week. Max Melton will potentially be the Cardinals' best cornerback available, with Will Johnson not practicing on Thursday or Wednesday. And of course, Ricky's going to be one of the focal points of the 49ers offense. Will the Cardinals be able to shut down Ricky Pearsall for this entire game? That's a huge question going into this one. I tend to think that the answer is no. I think Ricky is a phenomenal player, and I'm really excited to see how he does coming off of that knee injury in this week. So that's the first matchup I wanted to highlight. Ricky Pearsall versus Max Melton. Next one, we're going to flip to the 49ers defense. It's Keon White versus Cardinals guard Will Hernandez. Now, Hernandez has been around the block. He is a veteran guard. He has seen a lot, right? And the 49ers are desperate for any sort of pass rush that they can get, especially on the interior against a guy like Will Hernandez. The Cardinals gave up 5 sacks to the Seahawks last week in a blowout loss, and I think Keon White's really got to have a big game. Rushing from the interior is huge. Jacoby Brissett, who's starting at quarterback for the Cardinals, has very little mobility. He's an older guy, doesn't have that same athleticism that Kyler Murray does. So if you're able to get not only pressure, but pressure in his face and restrict what he's seeing and make him try and move around, I think that could really mess up the Cardinals' offensive game plan. And who's the best 49ers interior rusher? Well, it's probably Keon White. I'll be honest, I don't think any of the defensive tackles are really giving him a run for their money at this point. So I'd like to see Keon White have a big game, sack or two maybe, against a guy like Will Hernandez on the interior. Now, I want to stick with the interior, but we're going to flip sides again. We're going to talk about Dominic Pooney for the 49ers versus Dalvin Tomlinson from the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this entire defensive line for Arizona is talented. They've got two units, really, of quality defensive linemen. And the 49ers have to run the ball well in this game. I think that is a huge factor to them being able to stay efficient on offense and score all those points, right? So a guy like Dominic Pooney against their best run-stuffing interior player in Dalvin Tomlinson, that's going to be a huge matchup, right? Pooney's been playing a lot better as of late, the last couple of weeks, and he's got to keep it up against a really great unit. You've got Dalvin Tomlinson that he'll be facing off against. Calais Campbell he'll be facing off against. Walter Nolan might play, although I heard he's questionable for this one. Cardinals have a lot of really talented bodies on the defensive line, and in particular, I think Pooney needs to get the better of Dalvin Tomlinson to get this run game going. I'd also like to see the 49ers get Pooney on the move a little bit. They've been using the toss plays, the crack toss a couple of times in this Rams game, and it worked, right? Especially with Brian Robinson Jr., who's had a pretty decent couple of weeks for the 49ers. Keep using that crack toss, pull Dominic Pooney out to the wide side of the field and let him rumble, right? I love seeing him move. I think he's officially back from his injury, and I'd like to see the 49ers take advantage of that outside run game. So those are my 3 key matchups: Ricky Pearsall versus Max Melton, Will Hernandez versus Keon White, and Dominic Pooney versus Dalvin Tomlinson. Now, let's get right to the big news of the day, which, of course, is that Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall are both starting against the Cardinals this Sunday. Finally, we are finally back. Finally got our guy, Brock Purdy, back since both of these guys have been out since the Jaguars game, all the way back in week 4, 7 weeks ago. I've missed them dearly. And this is a pretty fun story for them because both of those guys grew up in Arizona. And Ricky Pearsall actually went to Arizona State, right? Stayed at home. It's a homecoming game for both of those guys. And I'm really excited to see what they can do. Brock obviously was not playing back when the 49ers played the Cardinals in week 3, but Ricky Pearsall was, and he had a couple of big catches Although Brock has had his fair share of big plays against the Cardinals as well. He's 3-1 versus the Cardinals. He's got a 9-2 touchdown to interception ratio. That's pretty good, and I'm hoping he can keep it up this week against a subpar, less talented Cardinals team. I think with the both of these guys back, the offense is going to be a little bit more explosive. Ricky Pearsall has 16.4 yards per catch on the season. That's top 10 in the NFL. That's right below a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's really, really good. And Ricky's ability to stretch the field, for lack of a better term, he's not exactly like a deep ball, just Trey Tucker, Deshaun Jackson type, but he can make these chunk plays in the passing game. And I certainly think that him being back and Brock being back will open up that dimension of the offense that we've kind of lost with Mac Jones. It's been, not to trigger any 49er fans in the comments, it's kind of been closer to the Jimmy G offense with Mac Jones under center, and Mac has been playing it great, do not get me wrong. But with Brock out there and with Ricky Pearsall out there, you can afford to stretch the field a little bit. You can get these chunk plays. You can attack the sidelines a little bit more often, right? Ricky Pearsall is a really good player. I feel like we've kind of forgotten about just how good he actually is since he spent all that time out with injury. Now, will he be totally 100% in game one? Probably not. But even if he's playing at 90%, we will take that. He's easily the best wide receiver on the 53-man roster, and I'm excited for him to show why the 49ers spent that first-round pick on him. Now, both of those guys on this show, we've talked before about, if versus when, right? At a certain point, I stopped saying, when Ricky gets back and when Brock gets back. I started to say, if Ricky gets back and if Brock Purdy gets back. And that was my pessimistic side showing up a little bit. But both of those guys, they were long recoveries. But the one guy that we're still missing is Brandon Ayuk. His practice window is still not open. And there have been some questions with both Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. People have been asking those two, are we going to see Brandon Ayuk at all this season? Will this year be a redshirt year for Brandon Ayuk? And both of them said essentially the same thing. They were very diplomatic. They said essentially, ideally, we see Brandon Ayuk play. Okay. Ideally, we see Brandon Ayuk play. Ideally, he came off of PUP list before week 10, right? Ideally, he hasn't taken over a year to recover from this knee injury. Ideally, he didn't sign a $30 million a year contract before blowing up every ligament in his knee, right? We can't really talk about ideals during this season of 49ers football. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I get why the 49ers want to play the media game and they don't want to promise something and then not be able to deliver on that promise, right? But I can't help but think something's up here. I don't like it. I want to see Brandon Ayuk out there with this football team because he's important. He is important. He's under contract for 2.5 more years at a high price. He's the guy. You've chosen him to be your wide receiver one. And with Ricky Pearsall stepping in, maybe that changes. But he's the guy, right? And he's been absent. He's been gone. We said this about Brock Purdy a while back, right? He's the guy, and he's not out there. So something's got to change. I need to see Brandon Ayuk in the 49ers jersey playing football before the end of this season, or else I think I might lose it. So those are your injury updates. Now let's get into the last segment of the show, which of course is the comments section. If you want to be featured in this section, all you got to do is leave a comment down below. The more comments you leave, the more likely you are to be featured in this segment. And of course, this is the segment where I take 3 comments from you guys and I give my thoughts and just let you know if I agree or disagree. Thank you to everybody that's been commenting on the videos so far. Like I said earlier, the support has been fantastic. I read every single comment, even if it's not featured in the video here. So thank you guys so much for commenting. And a special thank you to the 3 that I've featured today. This first comment here is from Hakeem. We have a propensity to make the Cards a hard out. We lost to 2 depleted Cardinals teams before at home and in Arizona. We can't take them lightly. Completely agree, Hakeem. I think you're exactly correct. And I don't want to spoil my winner pick here, but the Cardinals always play us close. No matter what. They always put up a fight. Real fans remember the Colt McCoy game, right? So 49ers cannot take this team lightly. They're coming off of a loss, so hopefully they're a little bit more energized and they're a little bit more motivated to get out there and bounce back and get back in the win column. We've talked about that before, the difference in mentalities coming off of a loss versus coming off of a win. Hopefully, and the 49ers have been bouncing back and forth. Win-loss, 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 win-loss. All the way since, I believe, week 3? Yeah, since week 3, it's been win-loss, win-loss, win-loss every single week. So, according to that, 49ers are ready for another win. I hope that comes true. That would be phenomenal. Now, from Max, our next comment here, I like Purdy as our quarterback, but he's going to be rusty after missing so many games. I'd rather just see Mac play out the season. I don't think Purdy will be a huge improvement over him until he's 100% and had some more practices. Now, I think, Max, this is a good point. I do agree with you here on some parts, right? I agree that it should be Mac until Purdy is 100%, right? I agree. I think that's totally correct. And I think that the 49ers should slow play Brock Purdy. They should not rush him back. In fact, if they think he's ready, maybe wait a week longer just to be extra sure, right? However, I think that's what they've done. I think there's a very real chance that Brock Purdy could have played the Rams game on Sunday. I think that he was ready to go, and the 49ers said, you know what? We're going to take one extra week. Playing the Rams, they're an awesome defense. We don't want him to get beat up, right? We don't want him to lose all his confidence. Take an extra week. And I think that's what they've done. And now Brock Purdy is 100% and ready to play. Now, we'll see if that's true, right? We will see if he is actually 100%. But regardless, I think they have slow played him. I think they have given Mac a very long leash, right? He's played great. They're not rushing him off the field, right? But when Brock is ready, he's ready. And if I'm, believing what the coaching staff is telling me, then I think he's ready this week. Of course, we'll see it on Sunday. We'll see if he plays up to his standard or not. But that's a good point, except I think they've already done it. Now, one more comment now from Martell. Brock should have a good game this week. I agree, man. Cardinals secondary is banged up and it's not great, even when it's healthy, right? I mean, like we said, the team is not in a good spot. The Cardinals, they're not in a good spot. They're not a good team. I think Brock needs to deliver against a team like this, right? You can't let them hang around. I want Brock to have a turnover-free game. I'd like to see a couple of touchdowns from him. I'd like to see him use his legs effectively, but safely, right? Don't want him taking a ton of hits. That's what I want to see out of this game from Brock Purdy. So that's all for today's episode, folks. Who do you think gets the win on Sunday, Niners or Cardinals? As for my pick, I am starting to get really, really concerned by the defense. There are a lot of miscues and misunderstanding of coverages and just straight up poor play out there. And the Cardinals always tend to play this Niners team close, so I think I'm going to go with a 27-26 Cardinals victory. Of course, let me know down below what you think, and let me know if you enjoyed. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics that you'd like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you next week.